Sunlight hits Judge Frank Caprio's bench, catching the edge of his gavel like fire. It's another quiet morning inside the Providence Municipal Court, the kind of quiet that comes before laughter, or truth, or both. The courtroom smells faintly of polished wood and fresh coffee. Papers rustle. A bailiff clears his throat, and behind the bench sits Judge Frank Caprio, patient eyes, soft voice, but the kind of presence that can stop a storm with a single look. He leans forward slightly. Glancing at the docket, the clerk calls out the next case. Anthony Russo, a man in his 40s, stands up. Slick jacket, shine shoes, that confident half smile that says he's not here to confess, he's here to convince. He buttons his coat, smooths his tie, and walks toward the podium with the air of someone who's done this before. "Good morning, Mr. Russo," Judge Caprio says, tone light but steady. "Morning, Your Honor," Russo replies, polite but casual. "Not sure why I'm even here. I never received any notice about this ticket." A few heads lift. That line has been heard before. The clerk types something into her computer. Her expression softens into something between curiosity and amusement. Judge Caprio tilts his head, eyes narrowing in mild interest. "You're telling me you didn't receive any notice?" Russo shrugs with theatrical innocence. "No, sir. Must have been a mix-up at the post office. I always pay my tickets when I get them." The courtroom is quiet except for the tapping of the clerk's keyboard. Caprio leans back, folds his hands and smiles just enough to let everyone know he's not buying it. "Not yet. Well," he says, "let's check that, shall we?" For a few seconds, only the hum of the computer fills the air. The clerk's fingers pause. She glances up. "Actually, Your Honor." She begins carefully, trying not to laugh. "This isn't the first time Mr. Russo's had this problem." Russo's smile falters. Judge Caprio raises an eyebrow. "No?" "No, Your Honor. According to the system, this is the third time he said he didn't receive his notice. Same reason." Almost word for word, the courtroom stirs. Small ripples of laughter roll across the benches. Even the bailiff looks away, hiding his grin. Russo shifts his weight, clears his throat. "Coincidence," he mutters. "Must be bad luck." Caprio chuckles softly. "Bad luck," he repeats. "Seems like the post office has been skipping just your address. 3 times in a row?" Laughter spreads wider now. The tension breaks. People can't help it. The truth, when it finally shows up, always brings laughter with it. Russo smiles nervously. "Could be, Your Honor." Caprio shakes his head, grinning. "Mr. Russo, I've seen a lot of bad luck in this courtroom. Yours might be the most creative." The clerk presses print. Paper slides out with a whir. She walks it to the bench and hands it to the judge. Caprio adjusts his glasses, scanning the pages slowly. His voice takes on that soft rhythm his viewers know too well, half humor, half sermon. "Case number 1. He begins. "Reason for appeal. Did not receive notice." A few chuckles. "Case number 2. Did not receive notice." The laughter grows. "Case number 3. He pauses for effect, raising his eyes with a smile. You guessed it. Did not receive notice. Now the room breaks. Shoulders shake, hands cover mouths, and even Russo can't stop himself from laughing. It's that helpless laughter that comes when your own excuse turns into your punchline. Caprio lets it breathe, then lowers the paper. "Well, Mr. Russo," he says, "I'll give you credit. You're consistent." Russo wipes his eyes. "Guess I need a new line, huh?" "Maybe one that's true," Caprio answers gently. The laughter fades into quiet, the kind that leaves space for something bigger. Caprio's tone shifts, not harsh, but honest. "Mr. Russo, I can tell you're not a bad man, but you've got to understand something. When people come in here and say they didn't receive notice, some of them are telling the truth. People working 2 jobs, folks who just moved, immigrants who can't read English. They depend on this court to believe them." Russo looks down, nodding slowly. "So when someone who does know the system bends the truth even a little," Caprio continues, "it makes it harder for the people who really didn't get their notice." The room is still. Even the hum of the ceiling fan feels distant. Caprio softens. "You thought you were outsmarting the system, Mr. Russo. But the truth is, the system only works when we're all honest, even about small things." Russo exhales, his earlier charm replaced by something quieter. "You're right, Your Honor," he says. "You're absolutely right." Caprio nods once. That's all I needed to hear. He sets the file aside and glances down at the ticket. You're cited for blocking a fire hydrant. Fine's $100. Russo nods, accepting it. I understand. The judge leans back, eyes thoughtful. However, a pause long enough to make everyone hold their breath. I'm waiving the late fee. A ripple of surprise runs through the room. Russo looks up, eyebrows raised. Honesty should still count for something, Caprio says, even if it arrived late. The courtroom hums with quiet approval. Then the laughter returns, a soft, forgiving. Russo grins, genuine this time. Thank you, Judge, really. Caprio smiles back. Do me one favor, Mr. Russo, check your mailbox from now on. The room bursts into laughter again. Even the bailiff chuckles. Russo shakes his head. Yes, sir. Maybe I'll buy a bigger one. As long as it doesn't block another hydrant, Caprio fires back, I think you'll be fine. The gavel taps gently. The case is done, but the moment stays. Inside that laughter, something deeper has happened. A man walked in trying to outsmart the truth, and left reminded why honesty still matters. The laughter slowly fades, replaced by the soft shuffle of papers and quiet smiles. The kind of ending that doesn't sting, it just settles like dust floating in sunlight after a storm. Anthony Russo steps back from the podium, the edges of his confidence fraying into something humbler. He turns, nods to the bailiff, then to the clerk, who's still smiling faintly. Even she can't hide her amusement. He'd walked in with swagger. Now he walks back with self-awareness. No gloating, no anger. Just a man who finally ran out of excuses and found a bit of peace instead. Judge Caprio watches him go. For a brief second, the old judge just sits there, eyes following the man toward the benches. He's seen thousands pass through this courtroom, but every now and then one of them stays with him. Russo will. Not because of his lie, but because of the way he laughed at himself once the truth landed. The next case begins, but the mood lingers. A woman in the gallery leans to her friend and whispers, I wish every judge talked like that. Someone else murmurs, he could have fined him double, but he didn't. That's the thing about this courtroom. Justice here feels human. It has a face, a tone, a heartbeat. Outside, the sun has climbed high over downtown Providence. Anthony pushes through the heavy courthouse doors into the noise of the city. For the first time in a long while, he's quiet. No phone in hand. No quick excuses forming in his head. He just walks. The morning air smells of coffee and asphalt. Each step echoes like punctuation on a sentence he didn't know he needed to finish. A voice calls from behind him. Hey, Anthony, check your mail. Laughter follows. He turns, grinning despite himself. Never again, he calls back. Lesson learned. And for once, he means it 2 days later. The clip hits the internet. Title: Judge Caprio versus the mailbox defense. The video starts with the judge's warm smile. The laughter, the punchline, maybe one that's true. Within 24 hours, it racks up 1 million views. Within a week, 5 million comments flood in. This is why I love Judge Caprio. He teaches without humiliation. That man just got the kindest wake-up call of his life. And somewhere deep in that comment section, lost between emojis and applause, sits one that stops people scrolling. My dad used to use the same excuse. After watching this, he went and paid all his old tickets. Thank you, Judge. That's the reach of this small Rhode Island courtroom, where laughter can travel farther than punishment ever could. Back inside the courthouse, Judge Caprio sits quietly between cases. He does this sometimes, pauses, lets the last story breathe before the next one begins. The clerk organizes files. The bailiff refills his coffee. Caprio just watches the door swing closed, thinking about the man who left laughing. Judge. The clerk says softly. He looks up. You all right? He smiles. Always, but in truth. He's reflecting. On the fragile balance he walks every day, the line between accountability and compassion. Between the letter of the law and the soul of it. Anyone can issue a fine, but to teach, that's something rarer. Later that afternoon, Anthony is back in his delivery van. Traffic hums, radios chatter, tires hiss on wet pavement. He glances at the courthouse in his rearview mirror, small and distant now. Then he smiles, half amused, half thankful. He pulls up to a meter, checks the sign twice, and laughs quietly to himself. He's still the same man, still hustling, still running routes, But something's changed in the wiring. For the first time in years, he feels like the city isn't working against him. It's with him. That's what truth does. It reconnects you to the world you kept trying to dodge. At lunch, he tells a co-worker the whole story, how the judge caught him. How everyone laughed. How it didn't hurt, it healed. The co-worker howls. "Bro, that's going viral for sure." Anthony shrugs, pretending not to care, but when he gets home that night, he watches the clip 3 times. By the third play, he's smiling like a kid watching himself in an old home video. Weeks pass. The video keeps climbing. 10 million views now. It plays on morning shows, talk shows, even late-night segments. Anchors laugh. Audiences clap. One of them introduces it with a reminder that even justice can have a sense of humor. Caprio doesn't watch his own clips anymore. He says once a story leaves the courtroom, it belongs to the people, but every now and then, someone stops him on the street. "Judge, that guy with the mailbox, what a moment." He nods politely. He learned the hard way, but he learned. Behind that short reply is a quiet truth. The judge isn't chasing viral moments, he's chasing human ones. Moments where the law feels like guidance, not punishment. That spring, Anthony gets another ticket, parking violation. He sighs, opens the envelope, and laughs out loud. At least it arrived this time. He pays it the same day, then sends a handwritten note to the court. "Tell the judge thanks. Still checking my mailbox." The clerk finds it weeks later, taped it to her computer monitor. Every time someone walks in claiming, "I never got the notice," she glances at that note and smiles. Back in court, another morning begins. Sunlight floods the room again. Same glow, same rhythm. Judge Caprio adjusts his glasses, looks at the next file and smiles softly. New name, new story, new chance for someone to remember that truth, humor, and kindness can exist in the same sentence, because in this courtroom, dignity isn't up for debate. It's the law's foundation. He taps the gavel gently. Next case. Sunlight drifts lower through the courthouse windows, catching the edge of the wooden bench and wrapping the courtroom in a soft amber glow. The day has moved on, but Judge Frank Caprio hasn't yet called it a day. He's still there, quietly signing papers, eyes lingering on the last page of Anthony Russo's file. He taps the pen once, twice, then sets it down. There's something about that case that won't leave him, not because it was dramatic, but because it was simple. A man who lied, got caught, laughed, learned. No shouting, no anger. Just a small truth finding its way home. He looks up at the empty courtroom. The benches are quiet now. The air smells faintly of dust and varnish. For a moment, the judge allows himself to think. "How many people come through here," he murmurs, thinking this is where their story ends. When maybe, it's where it starts to change. He's seen it all, the proud, the desperate, the careless, the broken. But what keeps him steady isn't the law books. It's the belief that people, when shown decency, can still surprise you. The next morning, the clerk brings in the usual stack of mail, envelopes, letters, small thank you notes. One of them is different, thicker, handwritten, no return address. She slides it to him without a word. Inside is a simple note on lined paper. "Judge, I just wanted to say thank you. I've been watching your videos. I used to get mad every time I got a ticket. I blamed the system. But now I just try to do better. You don't humiliate people. You help them. Respectfully, a grateful driver." Caprio smiles faintly and folds the letter back into the envelope. He doesn't say anything, but that tiny letter carries more weight than 100 verdicts. Meanwhile, somewhere across town, Anthony Russo is sitting in a small cafe, sipping coffee. His phone buzzes. Another notification, another video clip. He's long stopped reading the comments, but this one catches his eye. That man's laugh at the end. That's redemption. He scrolls through more. We need judges like this everywhere. You can't buy humility. You earn it. One lesson at a time. Anthony laughs softly. It still feels surreal. His little lie becoming a global reminder about truth. But it's not fame that matters. It's the strange peace that came afterward. He pays his bill, leaves a generous tip, and as he walks out, he glances at the courthouse down the street. Just seeing it makes him smile. He's not thinking about the fine anymore. He's thinking about how sometimes getting caught is the best thing that can happen to you because it gives you a reason to stop pretending. Back in the courtroom, another day begins. The camera crews aren't here. The world outside is moving too fast to notice this small corner of Providence. But inside, everything still feels the same. A mother with a stroller, a college student biting his nails, an older man clutching a wrinkled ticket. They all wait their turn. And behind the bench, the same judge sits with that same patient smile. To him, every person walking forward is just another version of the same truth. We all mess up. What matters is what happens after. "Good morning," he says, and the courtroom breathes again. Weeks later, the mailbox defense clip hits 20 million views. It trends in countries far from Rhode Island. Translated captions appear in Spanish, Hindi, Polish, French. People laugh in different languages, but they all understand the same thing. It's not the joke they love. It's the humanity. A judge who doesn't raise his voice. A man who learns through laughter. A system that remembers mercy. Teachers play the video in classrooms. Pastors mention it in sermons, even police training academies show it in ethics sessions, not as comedy, but as context, because the world in all its noise recognizes something rare in this story, a moment where accountability and kindness share the same stage. One rainy evening, Caprio walks out of the courthouse alone. He stands on the steps, coat collar turned up against the wind. Rain glistens on the marble railing, turning the world silver. For a moment, he just listens. The sound of rain, car horns, the heartbeat of the city he's served for decades. He thinks of Anthony Russo again, of the laughter that day, of how even the smallest lesson, delivered with dignity, can ripple outward in ways no law ever could, he whispers, almost to himself. Justice doesn't need to humiliate. It just needs to remind us who we are. Then he smiles, the kind of smile only a man at peace with his purpose can wear, and walks off into the drizzle, umbrella tapping against the stone. Friends, in a world quick to judge and slow to forgive, maybe this story reminds us that laughter and honesty can still walk side by side. That sometimes the most powerful lesson doesn't come from punishment, it comes from patience. Anthony Russo came to court trying to outsmart the truth, but what he found was something far greater. A judge who reminded him that the law isn't about winning, it's about growing. He left that courtroom $100 poorer, but a little richer where it mattered most, and somewhere, someone watching his story decided to be a little more honest that day. Sunlight fades over Providence. The courtroom sits empty now, benches polished, papers stacked neatly, one last beam of light resting on the judge's chair. Justice has gone quiet for the day, but the echo of laughter still hangs in the air, warm, human, unforgettable. And so, as every Caprio story ends, subscribe and drop your city if you believe respect can't be bought. Because dignity, honesty, and compassion, those are the only currencies that never lose their value.